Hi, my name is Jason Hooper, and welcome to the Fix Your Gut live stream. I'm here with Tytus Wilson. Tytus, I'm getting a little bit of an echo again. Tytus is the co-founder of FixYourGut.com. He's been an entrepreneur since he graduated from college, or since he attended college. He's currently a consultant that works with businesses to streamline operations in an affordable way. He's a graduate of Johnson University with a bachelor's degree in counseling, psychology, and religion. Tytus, welcome to the show.
Hey, Jason, great to be here.
Hey, Tytus, have you tried Unfair Advantage?
I have tried Unfair Advantage multiple times.
Yeah, it's good stuff, right?
It is one of my favorite supplements.
There's a way you can get some of this for free, and that is to subscribe to our YouTube channel, because we're doing weekly giveaways where we'll give you a box of Unfair Advantage. We'll send it to you shipped for free just for subscribing. It's a pretty sweet deal. You should do it. Subscribe if you haven't already. People are asking, like, why does it matter if we subscribe? Well, the subscriptions gives us more negotiating power with YouTube, so that when we complain that they took down one of our YouTube videos because I talked about nootropics and they're like, that's drugs, man, then they'll take it down, or then they'll potentially put it back up. So we're trying to get as many subscriptions and views as quickly as possible so that we have some weight to throw around in the YouTube community. Hey guys, stop deleting our videos, man. So Tytus, let's start talking about Fix Your Gut. How did you meet up with John?
Oh, wow. Let's see. John and I have an interesting history. We met up on the Bulletproof forums when, gosh, I think it was right after Dave's first podcast on the Joe Rogan show. And I really haven't figured out how John got to how he got to the forums, but I heard this podcast driving down the road, and I was like, I have to check this stuff out. Got on the forums, and then John was on there just answering everyone's questions left and right. And I messaged him and asked if he could help me with something I was dealing with. I was having trouble. I was very lethargic all the time. Couldn't figure out why, and John just sent back, iodine, take this kind of iodine 3 times a day. Here's the protocol, do it. And I was like, wow. So I ordered the stuff, and it worked. And gosh, John and I have been friends ever since. I just knew this guy really knew his stuff and was helping and could potentially help a lot of people.
Yeah, he's a good dude. So, so you met John on the forums, and he was coaching you a little bit, and at the same time he was also working on his book. And how did you get involved with that? Did you encourage him to do a Kickstarter, or when did you actually get involved in the business side of Fix Your Gut?
Oh, let's see. John, what had happened was, I believe, I had met up with Evan Brand, not just paleo, and we had become friends because we both live in Louisville. And I was just telling him about this guy named John on the forums that was I just never seen anybody with this type of knowledge, that just, the research and things he knew. I said he would be a great podcast guest. And John, Evan contacted John and got him on the show. So I believe that's the first time I got involved in John's career, as we could call it.
All right. So yeah, I remember that. Actually, I was on that episode too. We did a.
No, there was one. There was one before you that.
Oh really? Oh, that's right. Yeah. That's right. I forgot about that. Yeah, that's cool. So that was like in March of 2013, I think, right? That was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was right after college, because I got really into Bulletproof and around that time, because right after college I'd gotten really, really heavy. I needed to lose a lot of weight and had tried all sorts of crazy stuff, and John had been a big help with a lot of health problems I've had.
That's cool. How much weight did you drop?
Let's see. I looked back at my weight calendar, and the heaviest I ever recorded was I was 312 pounds, and that was when I started Bulletproof. When I started Bulletproof, I'd lost about 30 pounds because I did a complete 30-day fast on spirulina and chlorella at the time. So my
Wow.
body was completely starved of fat, and I just started just guzzling Bulletproof coffee, I remember.
Did you have a tough transition going from like these lactoformins to and algae to like just to like fat, like a high fat diet?
No, I really didn't because I think if I remember right, I just made the switch around Christmas because I got some of the Bulletproof Christmas deals, and I started eating fat around Christmas like to amp myself up for it. So I slowly worked my way into it, I guess. But once I ate bacon for the first time after 20 or 30 days of no fat, it was incredible.
I bet it felt fantastic.
Yeah.
Some people, though, they get on, they come from a very low-fat background, and they have a cup of Bulletproof coffee. Like I was at the Bulletproof convention last, I think, October, and there was people going through the line. I was at the coffee station in the morning, make sure people had enough energy to listen to the awesome speakers they had, and there were people who apparently had never had any Bulletproof coffee before, and they tried it, and they were just like running to the bathroom. I mean, they did not take it well. Um, I was sitting next to this guy in a presentation. I had no idea who he was, and he was like, "Hey," he was drinking his Bulletproof coffee. He's like, "Man, I gotta go to the bathroom. Can you watch my stuff?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, I'm just not used to this. So he runs to the bathroom and he comes back. He's like, "Okay, I'm good." And then like 10 minutes later, he's like, "Actually, I gotta go up on stage real quick. Can you watch my stuff?" He was like the next speaker.
Oh
So,
my.
yeah,
Did he make it out? I mean, did he make it through his presentation?
yeah, oh yeah, he did a great job. He was actually like one of the most genuine, legit people at the conference. Really enjoyed having him there. He was like a down to earth. Like a lot of the presenters were just, they kind of gave out this vibe like "don't talk to me" or whatever,
Yeah.
or like I don't know. They kind of had this pretentious type vibe, but this guy was like really cool, and he had one of the best presentations out there. About journaling. He runs the 5 minute journal thing, and
Oh, the 5 minute journal guys. Yeah, I looked at their product and I can't make myself buy it because I think the reward I'll get from buying this cool journal will make me not want to then end up journaling. I'm like, I've got a notebook over here. Why would I buy their product? But I know a lot of people recommend it, so maybe I
yeah,
should.
I think you should do it just because the guy's super cool. How much does it cost for the 5 minute journal?
I think it was like $15. I mean, it was just right around that mark where I'm like, yeah, do I really need to buy this? Because I already have a really nice leather journal. I don't use it.
Tim Ferriss says the 5 minute journal is one of the simplest ways I've found to consistently ensure improving my well-being and happiness, both in terms of achievement and actual measurable quantifiable results. I mean, that's worth $15. It's from Tim Ferriss.
Yeah, and he's an investor in their company.
Oh, that's true.
I
All right, so
mean, he
sorry.
admits it full for.
Yeah. So I
I
went
mean, I
on.
would assume he would invest if he didn't like it.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. I guess I don't know. I found him to be a really cool guy. There were a bunch of people there that were just really cool, and I don't feel bad about promoting their products just because they were just really genuine people. Like Andy Nilo, the guy that does the what is it, the Alutera face mask stuff. I
Oh
met
yeah.
him, and he's like one of the nicest people there. I mean, he was really genuine too. He was, and this guy's like a model. He's like a model. He was on TV. He was a baseball player. I mean, he has a reason to be pretentious, but he wasn't. And we had some other people there that just like ran a blog, and they're like, "Don't talk to me." I mean, they didn't actually say that, but they were just like, get away. Like I was helping out with one of the booths with the upgraded mind thing, and there was a guy whose booth was right across from ours, and it was kind of like it was like a dead spot. You know, we weren't getting enough traffic. There must have been some like big name speakers going, and I was trying to sell him as a joke. I was trying to sell him the upgraded mind package. I was like, hey, come here. And so he walks over, and I was like, hey, you wanna hack your brain? You want to get smarter? And the guy's like, I don't hack. Like, like, don't even talk to me. I was like, dude, I'm joking, man. I was like, well, what if I buy some of your crap and exchange, like, we barter? I'll give you a free upgraded my package, and you give me whatever crap you're selling. And he's like, I don't hack. Okay, all right, chill.
Oh, so I'm assuming you guys never closed the deal with each other then.
No, we didn't, and not at all. And he was a good speaker too, though. I'm not going to say who it was because, you know, but.
John's not chiming in. I would figure he'd be down there. No, nothing.
So, anyway, let's get back to this this tale. So, John, you hooked him up with Evan Brand, who does the Not Just Paleo podcast, and he gets on there. And then at what point? Let's see, because at what point did you decide to partner up with him and develop a business relationship?
We started right after that. He told me about his book, and I did, and he said he was almost done with it at that point, and he started asking me because he knew that I owned my own business and that I worked for myself, and he started asking me, you know, what do you think we should do here? You know, what should I do with this book? He said this guy's contacted me to edit it and wants to look at it. And I says, well, definitely you should pass that along. And at that point, I think we met up with you. I met you at that point maybe, and I don't remember how we got on a Skype or Hangout or call or something like that. But at that point, I remember we talked about how it would be it'd be nice to have a place with one resource to get all of your supplement information. You know, your routine. You know, we started learning that John, you know, vitamin D3 is different. All sorts of different things. And we met up with you, and we decided that we should start something. I guess at that point. Gosh, I'm rambling on because it's been so long because we've worked on this for a while. Sorry, Jason. Go ahead. What do you?
No, that's all right.
Do you know the time frame there?
I started editing the book. I don't know. He decided not to go with this other. Like, he had a big name editor lined up who used to edit for some major magazine, I think.
Yeah, I remember that.
And so the guy basically told, he worked for the World Health Organization, and he basically told John that he needed to find somebody who, I don't know, basically said you need to find somebody else, and John was like, hey, would you like to take a stab at it? And I was like, cool, let me see the book. And I think I got the first draft in August, and I was like, cool. And so so I got a copy of this stuff, and it was this really content dense book. I mean, the Fix Your Gut book, if you've seen it, it's got a lot of information packed into it, and it's not like a storybook where you're going to pick it up and read it, and before bed, and it's not that kind of book. It's like more of a resource. So if you're having problems with your gut, you just look up what to do in the book. It's searchable. So you type in whatever you want, and it has all the supplements and guides and everything. So anyway, we get this book, and it's like 300 plus pages, and he's like, yeah, okay. So my goal at the time was to do a page a day and just do it. And when I was at work, I had, because I have a day job, and like in between teaching classes or whatever, I'd just sit down at my desk and I'd try to get a page done a day. And then I got busy, I guess. I don't know. I kind of procrastinated a little bit. I stopped with that schedule. And then he contacts me again, I guess, like later on. He's like, I really want to get this book out. It needs to get finished. So I was like, okay, I'll do it over the Christmas break, I promise. And so I just started going over the Christmas break, and I took boatload of nootropics, and I ran electricity through my brain, and I just got it done in about, I don't know, 7 days. He wanted it done before January 1st, and so I just cranked it out.
What was
And
that like? What was that like on all those nootropics? And I've never used the electric through your brain stuff. So what describe that?
well, it was pretty. I mean, it got your adrenaline going. I was pretty aggressive with it. I went a little high on the voltage, and I have one that I program myself so I can control the voltage and the waveform and all this stuff. And I also have, well, and then so I used some nootropics that were vasodilators so that I had a lot of circulation going on in my brain so that it didn't kill me. And it was pretty amped up. It just really good. I had really good focus, and I could just not be distracted because when I was editing this book, I was at my father-in-law's house, and there's a lot of people there. There's a lot of people, doing stuff, a lot of commotion. It was like Christmas time, so and they all understood that I needed to get it done. I mean, but there was still a lot of people running around, so it just gave me razor sharp focus, and I just got the book edited, sent it to them, and we were able to meet the deadline, the January deadline. So
Yeah, and during that time we were building the first Fix Your Gut web. No, I believe the first Fix Your Gut website was before the book was finished editing because that was the kind of the original plan. I had hooked up with John and we were looking to build something even broader than what Fix Your Gut ended up being. But after you did the editing and we put together the website, both versions of it, it did so well on Amazon. It's really been a pleasant surprise. I just did not expect Fix Your Gut to do what it's done, but it's been great. Uh, just really impressed with all the work on it.
yeah, I figured it'd sell at least a few hundred copies, but it sold a lot more than that, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, I gave away Fix Your Gut on Amazon for a while. I believe like the first 2 weeks it was on there, and we gave away over 3,000 copies of it at that point.
Wow.
And the point of that was for our affiliate marketing. I mean, I think we should be, I mean, obviously transparent about that. I mean, there are affiliate links in there. That was our lifeline um, for, in the book. And then the content of the book sold well too. It really started to pick up after we gave it away. We started averaging, multiple copies a day, which was really exciting at the time.
Yeah, well, not to keep bringing up Tim Ferriss, but I mean, I think he put the 4-hour work week on a torrent site intentionally for people to pirate.
We did
And,
that too.
oh, did you?
It didn't. No, it didn't get me cedars. I left it torrented at my house for a week or two, and I finally took it down. I think I should probably put it back. That's probably a good idea.
Yeah, because what ended up happening was it created more interest, and people wanted to get, like, they wanted to support Tim. They're like, this is pretty good, and they wanted to get legal with it or whatever. I don't know. It seems cool. It was one of the ways that he used to like hack the bestseller list, I think.
Yeah, yeah, and those are all. I mean, he's done some really interesting things to hack those, and we've tried a few of those, but I'm hoping Fix Your Gut, as the brand keeps taking off with the book, we can keep doing interesting things like that.
I think it's cool because I think the people that try the Tim Ferriss methods and they aren't successful, they're looking at the model and they're trying to just work the model to be successful. But what John did was he started with an idea and a passion, like he had content, and we're just trying to take that content and manage it in a way for him to be successful. And I think that's the difference between, in my opinion, why Fix Your Gut's successful and why a lot of these other startup companies just kind of go nowhere with like the whole landing page. Like they don't even know what they're selling yet. They're like, buy shoelaces that play MP3s.
Yeah, he definitely had a good product and he had content, and that was what made me really interested in Fix Your Gut as it take off, because John just stayed so consistent blogging. He stayed so consistent putting new content out and being active on the forums that, he really was the reason it took off. I put time into it, but nothing like John did. It's his hard work and his content writing and his research that's done this for sure.
Absolutely. So, can you remember any early challenges or setbacks that you had?
Yeah, I think the biggest one is when we transitioned into Fix Your Gut 1.0 to 2.0. I I wanted it too big at the time. We were averaging like 150 to 200 hits a day, and we decided let's make this brand new website. It needs a web store. It needs all this crazy functionality. It needs to look like bulletproof. And we tried to build that, and it took us an extra probably month to get it done the way it needed to be, and it really slowed our progress down as a company because we took it all down later. It's not even there now.
Wow. What about like AdWords and stuff? Do you regret any of those decisions?
Yeah. Oh, AdWords. That was another one. Yeah. Started with AdWords, and Google had got a hold of us, and they said they would help us with AdWords and work with us, and we had them set it up, and I left it on pause, and because I wanted my buddy who was an SEO guy to look through it, and somehow Google switched it to on us, and it wasn't set up right, and we had 3 days where it ended up charging $500, I think, for each day. I don't even remember the numbers, but it ended up being $900 total or something.
Wow.
It was crazy. And I actually ended up changing my debit card number or canceling a card and got one of them revoked. Like they didn't get to charge it through. So, but still, it was a big chunk for nothing.
Yeah. Um, they're pretty sneaky when it comes to that. I guess it's probably in some fine print somewhere. But yeah, so they have all these pay-per-click things, and it does kind of inflate your um, daily hits. But what about click through and what is it called whenever go to the site for less than 5 seconds and then they
Oh, bounce rate.
yeah, bounce rate. Did you see an enhanced bounce rate? And
I don't remember during that time because our traffic didn't really grow that much. There's no spike in traffic for that time at all. Um, it didn't help us at
wow,
all. There was a spike in book sales because I actually was trying to push the AdWords to the book because that was the only place you could buy it. And that was one of the problems. I told them not to turn it on until I had tracking in right.
wow. So they turned it on somehow without your knowledge and racked up a $900 bill.
Yeah, yeah, it was a pretty bad day for Fix Your
Wow.
Gut.
Oh, no. Let's see. So at $7.99 per copy of the book, that's its price point, right?
Yeah.
And that's going to be like a lot of copies. That's going to be what 13? No, 130 copies just to break even on that.
Yeah, it was. I don't even know how many. I don't even remember the exact dollar amount on it because, like I said, I was lucky enough to get one of them canceled. So I think there was 3 different days, and I got one of the three canceled.
Yeah, well, that's good. That I guess. Well, cool. So was there like a turning point where all of a sudden you thought like, hey, there might be something here. This could be a real thing.
Yeah, I think it was the I think it was the time that John wrote the blog about the ice bucket challenge, and we'd been averaging 400 hits a day at that time, and it was good, or maybe 300. Or it wasn't astronomical. And John calls me in a frantic, and he is going nuts. He said, "There's 270 active users at fixyourgut.com right now. Mind you, this is 3 a.m. in the morning, John. I'm asleep. I remember because he calls me. I don't answer, and I'm like, why is John calling me? Because John likes to call me, but he calls again. I'm like, well, what's going on? Maybe there's an emergency. Well, that was the emergency. There was traffic on the site like crazy, like we'd never seen. And we wake up the next morning, and think it peaked out at like 8,000 hits in one day for Fix Your Gut.
That's pretty awesome. So this ice bucket challenge thing will turn out to be like a scam.
Yeah, according to John, John had researched it and found out that a lot of the money goes to, administrative fees, just
Like the
big
March of
bureaucracy.
Dimes type of deal.
Yeah, and he found out about this, and he wrote about it, and he was the first one, and this other really, really large blog backlinked to us, and that was the reason. Because John was actually the very first person to write about it being a scam that I know. I'm sure he was the first one.
Wow. Yeah, I think that's pretty morally questionable when you start a nonprofit and you're only giving like 35% of the total donations that are coming in to actually helping the people you say you're going to help. The rest of it goes to administration costs, which it's pretty much for profit at that point.
Yeah, and I
But
think John found out the percentage was even less than 35. I don't even remember. It was pretty low.
oh, it's 11%, according to the article. 11%. The rest of it, the company claims that it goes to raising awareness.
uh,
89% raising awareness. So see the pie chart if you can just visualize it. 11% helping people. 89%
where?
raising awareness. Because that's what it's all about, guys.
Hey, I'm just glad that I'm glad John had the idea to write about that, because him writing about that, our traffic jumped after that like 200 the next month, like day after day. That's when I was like, this is interesting now. Like, I didn't expect this.
That's cool. So, what did you learn from the process of creating a startup and going through all the technical things and the logistics of starting Fix Your Gut?
Oh gosh, things I've learned are I've made some mistakes for sure, because I would want to start things and get them going really fast before we had the right paperwork set up, the right processes set up, the right people in place doing the right things, and want to move things completely too fast. And I've really learned to I really learned, especially with companies like Fix Your Gut with blogging and what we're doing, that it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take day after day after day of putting the work in, like John's done. So that's the biggest hurdle that I've overcame, I believe, now that we've got it, Fix Your Gut to be pretty self-sufficient right now.
Cool. Where do you see Fix Your Gut going in the future?
I see Fix Your Gut continuing to go down a route that's still going to be very blog oriented, because we do pick up a lot of traffic from Google. We do pick up a lot of traffic from other places, and I see us branching out into multimedia and things like that. But I'm starting to realize that the more we do these broadcasts and we get people involved, and we were talking with the web developer today about how to have interaction with our readers more, and how to start building that community here. Building that tribe and starting that. I mean, we've got people that are already helping and donating, and they are part of our very first tribe members, and I'd really like to keep planning to branch that out, add things to the website so people can, make it be more community on the website, and really continue to focus on also, though, great content that helps a lot of people. Of any product I ever work on, Fix Your Gut's the one the most people are interested in, because I meet so many people with digestive health problems every day, it seems like.
So let's talk about the personal dynamic between you and John just a little bit. So John's son Abel was born with a genetic illness, a germline mutation that, it was very unfortunate, very tragic. And you have a disabled sister as well. So did you guys ever bounce ideas off of each other, and did you guys ever um, just kind of help each other out because you're in similar circumstances?
Yeah, that's actually one of the earlier questions. One of the reasons I wanted to work with John so much was because was so helpful to me with my sister, who that's one of the goodness, John. I give him complete credit for changing her life for the better. And you said bounce ideas off each other. Not really. It was more John helping me and me being a support for John. That was the best I could do, was talk to John. We were able to really understand what each other were going through. But John just helped so much with her things and adjusting her diet. He's talked to my mom when she's been in the hospital about make sure to ask this question, this question, this question, and I just give him so much credit for where she's at right now.
Does your sister take any supplements?
Yeah, she takes, and if John pipes in, he'll know better than me, just because I trust him so much with, his knowledge. I know for sure she's on vitamin D3. Yeah, I know she's on magnesium. I know she's on CBD as well. Vitamin C, she's on. She gets MCT oil right now. That's actually one of the things John helped. What's that one, Jason?
Sublimatine.
Sublimatine. There we go.
It's like a nootropic drug. For a lot of people, it's really good at I guess tearing down your inhibitions, but because it's also a cyclical amp stimulator, it also increases muscle tone. I think bodybuilders even use it from time to time.
Yeah, she's had it really. Her muscle tone is incredible. She actually uses the Bulletproof Vibe, and she takes that. And whenever she goes to the doctor, she's always exactly 50% in her where she needs to be at her age. Like she's right average always with muscle tone too, just because of things like that.
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here now. I don't know what happened there.
Um, for some reason, my window crashed.
Oh, okay.
That's
I was
never
gonna say 'cause
happened before.
everything
I
was working on
apologize.
me.
Yeah, so you were talking. I was asking you about the Bulletproof Vibe.
Oh yeah. I didn't hear that question. I must have cut off before that. But yeah, she has. My parents bought her the Bulletproof Vibe, and it's been very helpful for her. Her muscle tone has really increased since getting the Vibe, and she gets on it at least 4 to 5 times a week, every week.
Since she's disabled, what's the process for getting her on the Vibe and setting her up right? Do you just like get her on there and just kind of support her?
Yeah, my mom sits with her a lot on there and tries to get as much skin contact as she can, but that's not always possible. So they have this chair that was specially made for this that we measured that actually still gives the most absorption rate in it.
Okay.
And I don't think it's the best way of that yet. The optimal way is for my mom to at least sit with her and get that skin on it. But she has this chair that gets it really close, and that's the best we can do right now. But if you've got any thoughts, that would be helpful.
I don't know. I find I do some. I have a Bulletproof Vibe also. I do some stretching, and sometimes I use like some support structures and stuff for different stretches. And I find that even when not 100% of my body weight is on the Vibe, it still is a pretty powerful device.
Yeah.
There's a guy that I work with who lives in New York, and it's like they've got apartment buildings everywhere, and he tried to use it in his apartment. He said it was just like pictures were falling off the wall and stuff. That's how powerful this thing is. And so, yeah, I cannot feel a difference when I'm just fully supported and when I'm leaning over, using like a yoga block or something to support myself in a certain stretch position. So I think like the chair idea would be fine. I think it's going to be negligible. If you could hold her, like if I don't know, like if you could kind of like hold her up to where she's sort of suspended on it, so that I guess her spine is completely stretched out, that might help too.
Yeah, they use a pillow. They have this real large pillow that fits over the Vive. They stretch her out on. That works pretty well for that too. They use sometimes, and her muscle tone is very, very impressive for a child with Aicardi syndrome. Most children have very, very poor muscle control.
That's cool. So, I mean, she has seizures obviously with the Aicardi syndrome, and so the MCT makes sense. And then you've got her on CBD,
Yes.
which is working out. So, what's been her reduction in seizures since you started working with John? The before you started working with John to present day.
Well, that's something I get asked from time to time, and her seizures have been so sporadic. She would have sometimes one a day, sometimes 20 a day, sometimes that would be a horrible day, 20, but they were always somewhere in that range. But she now on average maybe has one a day, and very rarely has more than two or three. So her seizure count has dropped significantly. We don't have any more of those 20 days. But the biggest thing I've noticed is that she doesn't get sick anymore. She was always in the hospital for viral issues or breathing issues, and that hasn't happened to her since John's started helping me working with her, um, that's the main reason Aicardi syndrome usually uh, makes children pass away that have Aicardi syndrome is because they get sick. They have immune system breakdowns.
So, do you give her any immune support, like any like mushrooms or anything?
No, do not. And we're always working on, if there's something we can give her that will help with that, because that's my biggest worry for her is getting sick over anything.
Has she been doing pretty good so far? Like,
He,
or
he,
does she get sick a lot still?
no, she very rarely. I mean, she's healthier. Nobody in my mom and dad's house gets sick at all, and they're all, boosted their vitamin D supplementation, but she doesn't get sick hardly at all anymore. And she's been able to get sick in the last year and not have to go to the hospital, though. So she's been able to fight off colds herself.
That's cool. I guess it'd be a really good idea to not transmit diseases to her. That would probably be the most effective way to do it.
Yeah, that's why I'm really picky when my mom wants to take her to like big family functions. I'm kind of like, hey, Mom, I don't think that that's a good idea sometimes.
Yeah. Well, good deal. Um, you were talking to me earlier about building your own float tank, and I'm interested in that.
Yeah, I started. I designed a float tank system with actually my buddy Paul, the guy that built Fix Your Gut. His grandpa has helped design a float tank, and we've met with a fabricator that I'm going to give a budget to, and see if he can build it here at the Hackerspace in Louisville, Kentucky. Um, I'm going to meet with him to build this tank, and I'm going to I'm going to try to put it at my family's home so they can use it, but we don't want to spend $2,000-3,000 on a tank when I think it can be done for $600.
Yeah, that's pretty ingenious. Hackerspace, is that kind of like a community of engineers and stuff?
Yeah, Louisville Hackerspace, which I'm going to add the backlink, Daniel, for you for Hackerspace whenever I tell you about this. That's a guy I work with that runs Hackerspace, and he the hackerspace, they have engineers, computer guys. They have this just big community of people that bring spare computer parts and spare parts of anything, and you can just go in there and create anything you want. 3D printers, um, just all sorts of welding machines, giant um, areas with old computer parts. They've built some really interesting things there. So yeah, that's why I'm going to have them put together this float tank for me.
That's cool. And is this like a franchise and a national chain, or is that the only one?
I think Louisville Hackerspace is the only. I think the one in Louisville is the only one here. So that I know of, but there might be other ones across the nation. I just learned about them within the last 2 or 3 months. I didn't know. I had heard about them, but I hadn't been there. So it's a pretty neat organization, though.
That's cool. There's a biotech thing in my area that's kind of like that, but it's more for like that's how I designed my transdirect current stimulator device, the thing that sends electrical current through my brain, and I worked with people that could help me calculate things like skin resistance and talk to me about how to make the device safe and put in loops that would disengage too much voltage other than using a fuse, because by the time the fuse blows, you already have brain damage and all that stuff. So it was interesting to work with people on a project like that. But I'm going out of town tomorrow. I'm going to be passing through Austin, and there's like a really cool float center there. I'm thinking about doing my first float.
You got to do it. I'm still sticking to my guns. You got to do it.
Yeah, it's like $100, but
it's pretty. It's just incredible. I like what Joe Rogan says. It's so hard to describe unless you've actually done it. But you need to get in there and do it for sure.
All right, I think I'm gonna give it a shot.
And I had an idea, Jason, too, that I was thinking about. You could probably use your M-Wave inside of there, and I'd be really interested in the results on that.
Wouldn't it short it out?
Well, I mean, you can put it in a plastic baggie, I bet.
It's true, but like the sensor's got to connect to me someplace.
Or go in before using the M-Wave and use the M-Wave, then get in. But I'm very interested in different states before you go in and after, because like the best way I like to describe it is like when you go in, it's like seeing in standard definition. When you get out, it's like high definition. Everything looks different, crisper. Things. That's why I think you'll really enjoy it. You're just able to focus so much easier.
Sounds cool. I'll definitely give it a shot. I actually contacted the people over there, and they were actually the owner, Kevin, the CEO, was on Evan's Not Just Paleo podcast once upon a time. Evan's in Austin now, and so I contacted him, and I told him that like I wanted to kind of write about my experience and put it on the Fixture Gut blog, and possibly have him on the live stream too as an interview guest.
Hey, that's a good idea. Did he was he receptive to that? I think I remember that podcast of Evan's.
I haven't gotten a hold of him specifically. I just contacted him today, so. Oh, okay. Kind of a serendipitous thing. I'm just kind of talking about that because it's just been on my mind. Something I hear about it a lot, but I've never. There's not a float center that's in the town that I live in, so I'd either have to go to Houston or Dallas or Austin to go do it. It's a little bit of a drive, so if the drive is longer than the float, I don't know. It's where you start to get some diminishing returns there, I think.
Well, one of my favorite things though was I drove 2.5 hours to float 90 minutes, and one of my favorite things was the ride home driving after floating. It was just an interesting. The cars looked brighter. You were able to focus on what the car was going to do ahead of you, easier anticipate there, and you were very at ease with yourself at that point. It was fascinating. That's why I want you to do it, so we can actually talk about it, because it's very hard to talk with it about somebody that hasn't floated.
Well, that's cool. I'll definitely give it a shot. I think I'm going to try to do the float, and then I've got an outline for for a book that I'm thinking about writing, and I was going to do the float and then immediately just go to someplace quiet where I can just write and see how much of it I can get done, immediately following the float and see if that has any impact on writing or not.
Yeah, well, definitely let me know because I've thought I did some writing after floating in Colorado, and I went back and looked at it about a month ago, and it was not very good. So, but you are much more of a writer than me.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's this idea that I have that I think is a cool idea for the book. It's not going to be very SEO friendly or anything, but it's just information that I have that I've been coming up with that I just would really like to get down on paper. And if there's only a few people that end up reading it, that's fine. It's not going to be probably as valuable as the Fix Your Gut book because it doesn't solve any specific problems or anything. But I just have this idea about talking about these curve relationships that we have with a lot of different hormones and like different types of circadian type rhythms that we're supposed to have and that a lot of times we mess up with, and just talk about different relationships between hormones and have address it from an angle where it's like, okay, here's the curve and this is what it should look like, and here's the different inverse relationships and stuff. But again, it's like a very technical, specific book for a very small group of people, so I don't even know if it's going to go anywhere.
Are you looking to sell it, or are you just thinking about giving it away?
Well, I could give it away. I mean, we could just put it on the site for free and just be like, hey, this is.
Well, and that brings me to a point, because you asked, what's my vision for Fix Your Gut? Is I'm wanting to hear feedback from people, that are watching these streams, that are reading the blogs, of what they're looking for, what content, questions, so we can do more of these interactive things, because those blogs where the community is highly engaged, those are the ones that end up doing some special work, it seems like, and end up helping a mountain of people, and that's what it's really all about.
Yeah, I guess like this book probably wouldn't save anybody's life or anything, but it might help people kind of look at things in a different way and help to fine-tune what they're doing. Like if you see in the background right now, you see red light, and right now there's only red lights in my house being used just to help with melatonin production and take down cortisol. That's just one of the different types. A lot of people think of circadian rhythm, they think about sleep cycles and stuff. There's a lot more though. There are these annual circadian rhythms that the foods that you eat, and it's like, okay, if we're eating pineapple in December, is that a good thing? If we're eating if we're eating food from the southern hemisphere, they're in a different season entirely, and these plants have the same types of hormones that we do. Like black cherries secrete a lot of melatonin, and so how to eat seasonally, how to manage different things, and just that's just kind of something that I've been interested in a while, and I just kind of want to get it down. So maybe we'll just put it as a free download or whatever, and see what it does.
Yeah, and let me ask you, since we're getting close on time here, I did want to ask you a few questions too, since you're always so busy with Fix Your Gut stuff now, and I always have health questions for you, and I wanted to run through a few with you.
All right.
So, one of the things I've been wondering about a lot, and people ask me, is about coconut charcoal, and I know that's a product that you know quite a bit about. So if somebody eats, so let's just say me, if I have a bad night and eat a bunch of pizza with a bunch of friends and take coconut charcoal before, should I take it before, should I take it after, or does it even matter how much, or well, of course it matters, but how much does it mitigate of that damage if you go out and eat something just completely nasty like pizza?
Okay, well, so I would definitely take it before, just to get it in your stomach, just to kind of act as a barrier. I think that's probably the best thing to do, and maybe take a little bit at the end of the meal too. You can actually take quite a bit of it.
Yeah, don't they
And
use it on patients or people that commit or attempt suicide? Don't they use a form of charcoal to push that out of your like medications out of people's stomach?
yeah, they do, and it's not always a good idea because it's not always going to be effective for whatever that they have overdosed on. With activated charcoal, it's slightly positively charged. I'm gonna kind of get a little technical here,
Oh no, please.
but it's slightly positively charged, and we have these we have these ionic exchanges that happen, and we've studied this a lot in soil. Well, I say we, but people who are in agriculture have studied this a lot in soil because this is how a lot of proton transfer happens in soil. And so if you think of activated carbon as just like carbon, like the soil is mostly carbon, and it's just made to where it's very porous, has a lot of surface area, and it can absorb a lot of stuff. So with the upgraded activated charcoal, it's been micronized, so they just pound the stuff into like tiny, tiny little crystals so that it can just cling and bind to as many toxins as possible. So we're looking for positively charged toxins so that we can get these hydrogen bonds that will occur across these ionic exchanges. And they also have to have a free hydrogen extension to be able to bind. So there's some things that it's going to be able to bind well to, and other things that it's going to be completely ineffective against. One of the things that activated charcoal is going to be ineffective against in pizza is going to be the gluten. I haven't seen any evidence to support that it's going to be able to take out the gluten. And gluten is it's bad stuff. Even if you're non-celiac, there was a meta study done in Europe where they had a survey of like 86 different non-celiac studies showing that this stuff it sticks around in your body for months after you eat it. So if you can avoid it, like Pizza Hut has gluten-free pizza now that
I
you can
saw
get.
that. Yeah.
So that might be an option. But the things that it will bind to are some of the oxidized nutrients, some of the oxidized fats. It will definitely bind to. It will definitely bind to some of the mycotoxins, like if you have pepperoni or something, and there's some mycotoxins and stuff. It will definitely bind to the positively charged mycotoxins there. So it will do it, like it will mitigate some of the damage, but not all.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
figured it wasn't it's not a magic pill that you can pop and go eating everything fried around you and be good to go for sure.
yeah, it would be pretty effective for the fried foods when like acrylamide, it would bind pretty well. But yeah, it's not, and I don't think it's claimed to be on the site like a cure-all or anything. But for
No.
instance, if you have an alcohol overdose and you go to the hospital and they pump you full of activated charcoal, it's going to do nothing for the alcohol in your stomach. I mean, it's not going to help you one bit. So the medical community, they goof up with it a little bit too, I think. But it just be real about what it is, I guess, when you're out there and say, this is still going to mess me up a little bit, but I'm doing what I can in this situation to make it less damaging.
Yeah. Wait, got me to thinking, when's the last time you've had gluten?
It's been a few years for sure. Well, I could have had some accidentally and not known it.
Were you very
That happens
sensitive
to a
to it
lot of
before?
people. What's that?
Were you very sensitive to it before?
No, not at all.
Because I'm not either. Like that's what gets me is like I can eat a bunch of pizza and then 2 days later, I don't feel any different. But I do know I've gone periods where I've gone 6 months, 7, 8 months, and not had any gluten, and you do feel way better over the longer period of time with no gluten.
Yeah, the thing is with gluten is that since it stays in your system for such a long time, for non-celiac sufferers, it basically it takes you like 6 months to rehab yourself back into good shape again. So you're not gonna, like, if you stop eating gluten and then you're like looking for results the next day and you're like, hey, I don't feel any better. This is dumb. And then you stop taking it. That's kind of the wrong way to look at it. But or you come back and you accidentally have gluten afterwards, you're not going to go into like catatonic shock or anything, but I think it's a good thing to avoid. I think it basically, for non-celiac, it messes up your immune system a little bit. Your immune system starts fighting things that it shouldn't fight, and your thyroid, for instance, it kind of messes up. It's not good for your gut lining either. But anyway, yeah.
Good stuff. All right. Let's see. This is a very good one. So I'm stealing this from Tim Ferriss for sure. The top item under $100 that added the most value to your life in the last 6 months. Could be a book, could be anything. Anything because I know you're pretty high performing on how you do your work and how you go about things.
I got some noise canceling headphones within the last 6 months that I really like, and I think it's good for yard work, when I'm outside working in the yard. And I'm a musician, so I like to protect my hearing, number one. And so I used to use earplugs, like earplugs and cans at the same time. And so I was pretty much only getting sound through bone conduction. But I've since switched to some noise canceling headphones that are earbuds, and then I use cans on top. And that way, when I'm working outside, I can throw on a good podcast that I like to listen to, and it just makes the work go by faster, and I feel like I'm learning something while I'm getting work done. So I'd go with that. If you wouldn't have put the 6 month restriction on there, if you just said like $100,
I'll take it off. Yeah, take off 6 months then.
Yeah, I got a pull-up bar that I bought a long time ago, and it was pretty cheap. It was like $12, I think, and I've gotten so much use out of that pull-up bar. Really good investment, and I've had this thing for years, and it's worked great. It hasn't fallen off the wall yet, so that's I think.
I busted I had a pull-up bar that was not well built like that, and I went up on it, and it wasn't supported right. It just completely crashed to the ground.
That would be not so good. I mean,
embarrassing.
I just do like chest to bar pull-ups. I don't do like crazy stuff like what do they call it? Like those muscle ups where like you're doing gymnastic stuff and you're doing like a tricep extension. I don't do like toes to bar or any crazy I don't what are that like sling thing where you hang upside down like a bat and all this other goofy stuff. Like I just like no kipping, just straight up chest to bar pull-ups. That's the only thing.
No P90X pull-ups.
I don't think so. I just basic chest to bar, pull-ups, chest to bar, no kipping, straight up. That's all I do. Nothing fancy.
Good. Let's see, we got a couple minutes here. Yeah, one thing, and I think you've given it to me before, but I want to go over it again. Your morning routine. I'm really interested in how you, when you're in work with school and in the summer.
The summer, I almost wake up at the same time every day anyway because I've got a 1-year-old and he's on a timer, so he's going to be up in the morning, and when he's up, I'm pretty much up too. So I usually wake up, and during the summer, since I don't have as much stuff going on, I like to get some protein right off the bat in the morning. I like to do 30 grams of protein within 30 minutes of waking up.
You do that every day?
Yeah, every day. Yeah, I do it every day. On days during the school year where I have a teaching load, I usually do intermittent fasting because when in the summertime, I work out in the mornings, and during the school year, I work out in the evenings. So I do intermittent fasting because it's just more convenient for me. I don't always have time to eat lunch. Sometimes I'm running around doing stuff, and I just don't have time to eat lunch. And so if I get my bulletproof coffee in the morning, I can last a lot longer. But when I'm more relaxed and I just want to tone it down, I don't really want to be like, I don't want to have like an IV of caffeine dripping into my veins. I just want to be able to relax and not be so type A. Um, I usually shower in the morning. Like right now, I'm doing this crazy protocol with AO Plus, this skin probiotic um, from AO Biome, and so instead of showering, like I have to like wash myself, sort of like the Japanese style because I can't get chlorine on my skin. But when I'm not doing this protocol, I take a shower in the morning, shave, get ready to go. Um, Usually, well, breakfast is like I cook breakfast and I just throw it in a pan or whatever and let it go, and then I'll just watch cartoons with my son, and he'll just hang out with me, and it takes he really likes to wake up, but it kind of takes him a while to get awake, and so he's a little bit groggy, and so I just kind of hold him in my lap and we just chill for a while until breakfast is ready, and then we eat breakfast together, and with my wife usually too, and then in the summertime I take him outside when it's nice and cool. We go outside and play and stuff. And the school year, pretty much out the door by 7 every morning. So um, I just go straight to work and teach my classes.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was interested in how you were talking about the 30 before 30. So that's something that I'm trying to implement right now, every day.
I used to do some M-Wave stuff before my son was born. I'd do an M-Wave session in the morning, but I don't get around to it in the morning anymore. I'd only do one session a day now, and it's in the afternoon, sort of when he's taking his afternoon nap.
Do you do meditating as well then, or just M-Wave sessions?
I do both. Right now, I do some box breathing for recovery, and I use that to meditate. I do that to meditate also. But yeah, I like I like both. I like the M-Wave, and I like to meditate too.
Yeah, I'm a real big fan of the M-Wave. You helped me a lot on that. When I'm really in a groove of using that, I can just tell my temperament is so much better.
Yeah, it definitely helps you to relax and not. It makes you very conscious of where you're spending your emotional energy, and you can make a choice like, do I want to get mad at this, or do I want to not be tired at the end of the day? And you can just let stuff go a lot easier. That's not saying when I'm in a classroom and I need to be stern and I need to project urgency or I need to do this, I can still do this. I can still have I can still create tension when I'm telling a story or whatever, but I don't have to feel it inside. Like I can create the illusion of tension. I don't have to be tense myself, or I can make others feel the sense of urgency, get stuff done or whatever, but I don't have to display that myself.
Yeah, and that's one thing we should have talked about. I hope that sometime you can do a multimedia or something on the M-Wave on Fix Your Gut to show people like you did me how to use it properly, because I think that's a big disconnect.
Yeah, I like the M-Wave because it's a sort of type of meditation, but it's completely secularized, so there's no mumbo jumbo. There's no like crazy stuff like
No Jesus, Buddhist, Muhammad's, any of that.
Yeah, and not to say there's anything wrong with that, but a lot of people don't connect with either that particular deity or cross-deity relationship. They just want to get some experience meditating, and it takes a lot of the stigma away where it's like, okay, this is electronic, this is a device, hook this up to you, there's lights, and this is a tool. And so people see it in a different way where it's like, yeah, meditation, that's for losers. I don't want to do that. It seems to it seems to get people thinking different about it, which is, I think, is kind of cool. But it's a different type of meditation than your traditional meditation, to where it's a little bit more like heart conscious and a little bit more like emotionally conscious. You apply the heart math techniques and you're resonating good feelings and whatnot, as opposed to the like wuji of Taoism where you're trying to shut your mind off completely as much as possible, which is teaching you to be very mindful. So instead of being like a mindful meditation, it's more of a heart type thing. So it's a little bit different, which is why I incorporate both practices.
Yeah, well, that's what I need to start doing then, because I feel like I'm usually one or the other, and sounds like I should do one session of each, for sure.
Yeah, if you've got time, and you don't have to spend a ton of time with it. You know, you can like a 5 minute session will go a long way for sure.
Yeah, and yeah, really appreciate you going through that with me. A lot about 6 months ago, it's been a great benefit to my life for sure.
Yeah, no problem, man.
All right, and
Well,
last thing,
okay.
we're out of time. Looks like no, we're out of time. So I just noticed
Yeah,
that.
that's all right, man. I
Apologize.
was going to say that. Yeah, well, thanks for the questions there at the end. Again, thanks guys for listening. Go ahead and subscribe to get some unfair advantage. Really appreciate all of our donors and everybody supporting the blog at fixyourgut.com. Thanks everybody. Have a good one.
Hey, thanks for having me, Jason.
No problem, Tyus.